So let's say I'm using Vim, or in this case new Vim, and I want to open a file, right? Let's say I want to open a file in I don't know, local bin scripts, something, right? And then if I exit this file, well, we're still back at the last directory before we have opened Vim, right? But what if I actually want to change my directory to the directory of the last opened file before I exit Vim? Well, what you can do is just store your variables in a temporary variable, or not store my variables, store my current directory. So what we can do is make a current directory. There is something called maketemp, where it will generate just some file name, a unique file name, and you can use that as to make a file, right, as your file name. So what we can do is, let's say cwd equals maketemp, right? I don't know if this is used actually. Maybe we should, I don't know. Okay, actually I might need to export it because it's global. I don't know. So we have that, right? And then what we can do is do nvim and n cd cwd. So what we're going to do here is we are going to open new Vim, and once new Vim exits, we are going to cd to the content of the file that was generated with maketemp. Actually, this is wrong because that's a literal maketemp. So if we do echo, now we actually have a file. Okay, but yeah, we can do nvim and cd, open the file, and, and then once we are here, we can do our something, right? Let's go back to scripts to move, and then we can make like a binding where we are going to echo the current directory of the current file we are opening to the temporary file, right? And then well, let's do it, right? So echo, use the this thing for a shell command, and then %p %ph, that's just the Vim script for the current directory of the current file. So %:p is the file, and :h is the current directory. Don't ask me, it's cryptic as hell. Okay, but and we had what is it, cwd, right? All right, so we have echoed local bin scripts, which is our current directory, to the what is it, the temporary file, and the content of the temporary file should be the current directory, right? So if we have done it correctly, yeah, so we have this, right? And then you don't want to do that every time. You can make like, I don't know, you can map q, or I don't know, something with which you the key with which you are going to exit or save, or actually an auto command, right? And then every time you exit, buffer exit or something, you're going to echo the directory of the current opened file, right? And then if we exit this, then actually oh my gosh. Okay. we, for, we forgot a what is it called, a dollar sign. But if we exit, now we're at we're at the last opened file, well, the open file before that one, where we have echoed the current directory. And this works, but if we see here at tmp, we of course are going to have our temporary file. And if you are opening obviously a lot of different terminals, we're going to have a different temporary variable that maketemp has generated for us if we put that in our zshrc. So at a point there will be like a bunch of these, and you know, I guess it's fine. I mean, it's not gonna break your system or something, but you probably want to clean it up. And I guess what we can do is like make a while loop, and then every, I don't know, every 5 minutes we are going to remove, you know, something, right? But you know, you should probably mark them somewhat, so you know you're not like deleting a temporary file that is not vim or not used for the vim directory. But you know, you can do something like this. But there's kind of a problem here, and it's not a huge problem, I guess, but it is still a problem where well, this script is going to run every 5 minutes, right? But what if when exactly it is trying to remove a file, we are actually also simultaneously trying to echo, or like we have echoed the directory, and then right at that time it removes the temporary file, and then when we want to cd, we haven't actually found a file because it has been deleted by this. And you know, it's not really a realistic problem, but well, what you can do instead is, well, you can probably still use maketemp, but you actually want to somehow mark whether a file is still in use or not, because what we want to remove is files that are not even in use, where we have exited vim or even the terminal, and we are not actually using the same, we can't actually access the variable to access the file name. So we don't actually need that because, well, we can't actually write anything to that, right? So there is a variable, a special variable in the shell. There's something called this, and what this is let's say, let's check if it's on a man page. I don't know, but this is the PID. It's gonna echo the PID of the current process, right? PID, process ID. And if you look at, you know, if you look at PS, let's, what was the PID? 139978, right? 139978, and yeah, it's our current ZSH, right? So with this variable, we can actually mark the file names, because when let's say, okay, 139978, let's exit this, let's exit the terminal, and let's open a new terminal. So what was it? 139978, right? 139978. So, and now we can see that this ZSH is actually not there. The PID is not, you know, It's not actually there because the process has exited. So what we can do is create or mark the temporary variable with this, where every like 5 minutes or something, when we were doing our for loop, before actually removing everything or every file we are trying to remove with it, we can actually check each file where we have marked them with this, whether they are still actually in use or not, because we actually want to still keep probably the ones we are still using. So let's echo the current, so what we can do is do ps, and then use whatever flags you like, I guess, and then grep the number, right? So, and then in this case we still have the number, and we should actually use grep q, right? And then if the number is still there, it's gonna echo true, right? So yeah, so we can put that in our for loop, so, or while loop, whatever, but done. What's wrong with this while loop? Oh, okay. And we want to put a for loop for looping through the files, but so for every file we are looping through, we can check the file name. We can check the part of the file name which contains the PID, whether that PID is still in PS, which means the process is still running, which means the terminal or the shell is still opened, which means we still actually want to keep the file. And so we are going to skip that one. But if it is not in PS, it means we actually have a file that is no longer in use because we have somehow closed or exited the shell or the terminal, and then we probably want to do a remove, right? And so this way you don't accidentally remove the files you don't want to remove.